So some pretty big news over the weekend that I finally get to cover is Bleach ending in 6 episodes. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry about the title, but the chapter's called The End, and it's on episode 6. So Bleach is ending in 6... No, of course. But there's a lot of things to talk about because this is a very interesting point of where the series might be ending or how it's going to end and what my theory is going towards it. But it is extremely strange that by manga terms, by the time we get to episode 6, we would have been close to concluding already, right? So with that being said, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and let's see why Omaeda's alive, shall we? Yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So the fan page club outside, Kubo gave us some interesting images about how the dubbing went this week. And of course we have an image of Omaeda. Now the question is why is Omaeda going to be appearing in episode 6? And my first intrusive, again without looking into it, my first intrusive thought was Omaeda wouldn't even appear until after the war is finished with, right? So of course my brain instantly goes towards that. It's animating, or the episode is going to be called The End. So episode 6 is going to be called The End. And the reason why we know it's episode 6 because the episode number is 46 out of the cause, and obviously we left off on episode 40 being My Last Words. So by episode 6, we're having the title called The End, which if anyone doesn't notice, it is the fight between Ichigo versus Yuha, and that, you know, there is like, you know, like how Baby Hold Your Hand 1 and then Baby Hold Your Hand 2, well, there's the End 1 and there's the End 2, right? So obviously, a little bit of context there. But after that, you have like 3-4 chapters before like the end of the war chapter, and that's it. So it's interesting, and people are kind of freaking out about it because obviously we know we have a lot more content to go on to fill those next 6 episodes. So I just kind of want to address that a little bit about how I think it's going to be going, because even if we look at it from a chapter perspective, right, by the time we get to episode 6, now I know that things are rearranged and I took those into account. By the time we get to episode 6, I'm talking... we're not even at episode 6, like episodes 1 to 5. It would have covered 15 chapters, right? In the manga, that's how much chapters it would have covered, right? In content before we get to the chapter, The End. Already, we know that 5 chapters is going to cover... 5 episodes is going to be covering, give or take, 15 chapters. So we get to episode 6, and then by the time we get to episode 6 be The End, that will cover the end of the series, will be 23 chapters. So what is that? That's 8 chapters from episode 6 all the way to episode 12, 13, depends if they do one of those hour-long specials. I know that people don't like me saying that, but in terms of Japanese TV, it's an hour long. But for us who get it on streaming, it's 2 separate episodes. I get it. I know, right? So we have 23 chapters to cover, and 15 are going to be already adapted by the time we get to halfway through the core. That's incredible. So why is Omaeda in episode 6 be the end? And the reason why I say that is because he has voice lines. Why has Omaeda got voice lines, right? Obviously, again, my initial thought was, is this after the war? And then I realized that obviously The End is a chapter name. So there's obviously 2 theories you can go about this. Is that one, somebody healed Omaeda. Don't know why you'd want to do that, because even on the epilogue, after the post-war happened, I went to check if Omaeda was in any of the panels, and actually, to be honest, like, he just doesn't turn up in the manga at this point. Like, he's gone. Like, to be honest, if it wasn't for, I think, some, like, light novels and, like, maybe the Hell Arc, I can't even remember if he was even in the Hell Arc. I know that Kubo did some illustrations, like the time skip, so we know that he's alive, but had Kubo not done that illustration, we probably would have thought he was dead. You know, give and take what happened in the anime. So that's kind of funny. But yes, the guy is back. And obviously there's 2 scenarios here. And I'm kind of more so... I would like the latter, if I'm honest with you. But the first one is, Omaeda got healed. Who by... Is Isane still alive? Isane, yeah. Isane could be healing Kyone and all that. That would make sense. And that's kind of... Again, it fits with the war vibe, seeing what's happening other than like the non-stop battles that we get from here on out. It fills some time. It's good little world building to some extent, or character buildings to some extent, right? Gives more of the side characters more fleshed out appearances. So that's kind of interesting. Omaeda didn't need to get a voice line, but hey, he got one, and that's probably what happened. Then he says something. I don't know what anything of value he might say. Maybe he says something to Soifon, because last time we saw Soifon, she got smacked by the Miracle. But the thing that I would like the most, because of how the manga is and how kind of rushed it is or fragmented it is, I think, and there was a chapter as well, I think in the last, what was the last chapter? 685, because there's 686 chapters, right, James? Right? Question mark. Anyway, the chapter before the last one, there is some interesting parallels between current day and war arc, and they kind of bounce that around a little bit, especially with Aizen talking as well towards the end of the series too. So my conclusion, or my theory towards this, is at some point within the story, which is probably going to be the final battle, there's going to be a narration, and I genuinely think this is probably the best way to do it, kind of a way. Like, at some point something happens to where it becomes a point where it's spoken about in the history books, it's spoken about at the Soul Reaper Academy, it's spoken about in court or whatever the fuck, right? And they talk about what happened during that fight. And I think the narration aspect probably makes a little bit more sense for Omaeda to have a voice line or so. If not, it doesn't matter. But at some point in the story, there will be a narration about what happened during the war, right? So I wonder when that transition's going to be coming in. And I wonder if this is the episode of which it's going to be happening, right? Now, it is, crazy to think that, from episode 6 all the way to episode 12/13, that even if they did a chapter or an episode per chapter, they would have 2 episodes left. Now, just to give you a kind of sense of how crazy this is that, can you really think that if we have 8 chapters left by the time we get to episode 6, do you really think they would spend an episode per chapter, considering that it's mostly fights? Well, yes, it is possible, but it would have to be lots of filler fights in, if that makes sense. Like, the things that we see in the manga would be more fleshed out, more choreography, which I'm always down for, I'm always appreciative for. But we know that this arc's going to have so much more in-canon filler. And obviously, filler doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's in canon, right? So there's a lot more fleshed out and a lot more things going on. It just kind of gives you that retrospect that on average, the Bleach anime has gone from 4 to 5 chapters per episode, right? At the least, it's gone 3 chapters an episode. So now we're going at the prospect that this may be 1 chapter an episode. That would be insane for Bleach terms, right? Because Bleach is so fast-paced when it comes to its manga. So the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think it's going to go a chapter an episode. I still think it's going to go the 3 chapters. I'll be generous. I would like it to go 3 chapters, right? So this episode called The End, I would hope that it includes the end and the end too, and then obviously the chapter after it. And then everything else, I want it to kind of be anticipation, which I think would probably be good, because if episode 6 does 3 chapters and then they use the chapter names for the next recurring episodes afterwards, I think that would be a good idea. But they've got to fit so much new content into those that will make me really interested, even looking through the manga chapters. I mean, look, one of the things that I think would make a lot of sense is Ishin and Ryuken getting involved in the fight. I don't know how, but a lot of filler could be introduced into that. And I do think with the narration aspects that I talked about, where they talk about back in the day or back what happened in the war, especially towards the end, I do think they could throw a lot of Soul King lore in there as well, because they're talking about an event that happened and something that they probably learnt as well. So I would like to see 2 possibilities, which is of course the Soul King backstory, and of course Ishin and Ryuken getting involved, and I think that would make sense. I do think there's probably other characters that are going to have more time to shine. I would like to see the Visors obviously have more time to shine, and I think that was kind of hinted at or kind of teased towards the end of Core 3. And hopefully there's some other characters, some unexpected characters. Maybe Neliel will have more of a time to shine. Maybe Grimjow will have more of a time to shine, right? I'm not going to put all my stocks in that bag, but again, I would like to imagine that maybe that could be the case. But I think the point of this video is, and you're probably asking, okay, like, you're just rambling. The point of this video is, by the time we get to episode 6, you're looking, if on that current trajectory of chapters being adapted, you would have run out of content by episode 8, maybe 9. So that's 3 episodes of just fully new things we haven't seen in the manga material. And that's a crazy amount of new content. 3 episodes, give or take. So that's kind of the narrative I wanted to leave on this video. And just interesting what you guys think is going to be happening. Do you think we will go the narration route towards the end? Or do you think we will go into just Omaeda got healed and then we carry on as normal? Again, at some point, somebody has to tell a backstory. Probably Aizen, probably Shunsui, probably Ichibei, right? But how will it end off? That's also important to me as well, and something I'll be keeping a very close eye on. We already know we're going to get Kazui and Ichika. This is something that is definitely foretold to us. Something that's been, I won't say leaked, it's been told by Kubo himself that we're going to get these 2 characters. So we can dedicate at least 1 episode or the final episode going towards the time skip, right? The 10-year time skip. We know that we're not going to get a 10-year time skip in terms of like Dragon Ball Super. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that that is the case somewhere in the future, that we do get a Dragon Ball Super with Bleach where we just get 10 years of just like stuff in between. That would be amazing. But again, like, can this last episode and can the episode before it maybe hint towards what we're going to get in the future, which is possibly that movie that we might be getting at Jump Festival, which I'm kind of putting a bit of stock into that. I generally believe that that might be the case going forward. So again, yeah, what do you think the filler is going to be? So I think going forward, if we don't know anything going past these 6 episodes and we just get to watch the anime with no other context going forward, obviously I do think that we will get more context, but for now, on the chance that we don't get any more information, right? I think episode 6 is going to be the mark of wholly new territory, right? This is, we don't know where it's going. This is exciting, fun times. Everyone's kind of out the loop. We know that the last episode's going to be time skip. So, I mean, 4 episodes where, like, anything goes. Anything absolutely goes, and that is exciting. Tell me what you guys in the thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm going to get you more focus out. You guys, of course, have this fun day. JaymesHanson, as always, people. Peace out.